Question again with mental health district by Macy, Rachel, Ella, and Margie. 43.8 million people experience a mental health illness each year, with only 41% actually getting help. Mental health is defined as a person's condition regarding their psychological or emotional well-being.
Political views of mental health and purchasing a gun are the views of the Republican and Democratic Party. The Republican Party believes in a smaller government with fewer regulations. They believe that U.S. citizens have the right to use and carry firearms. They believe that some of the laws and regulations in place are impeding on our Second Amendment right to bear arms. The Democratic Party wants to see a good deal of gun control legislation in place in the future. They hope that these laws and regulations will include mental health and who can and can't purchase a gun. People's views. Most people with mental health do not cause violence. Instead, they are victims of the violence. 95 to 97% of people who cause gun violence are those who have no mental illness. In society today, the contribution of mental health is very small with gun violence in our society. In the first graph, it shows how many mental health records your state has submitted, and they are then scaled from worst performing to best performing. In the second graph, it shows gun screening and how many records your state has actually submitted. Laws and guidelines in place today. We, as U.S. citizens, we have our Second Amendment right, which is the right to bear arms. And that protects an individual's right to use, carry, and obtain a firearm. We also have the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, which prevents a person's possession of a firearm when they are in a mental institution, are a danger to themselves or others, lack the mental capacity to contract or manage their own affairs. We also have the Gun Control Act of 1986 and the NICS, which is criminal background checks, which show an individual's criminal background, mental health histories, and shows how they are prevented from carrying firearms.
Mental health spending. Treatment for mental health can range based on what type of treatment it is, whether it's in-hospital care or therapy. Also, can vary based on illness, whether you have a common illness like depression, anxiety, to eating disorder like anorexia, or even PTSD. It can all change. It can go into the thousands because each night can go be in the hundreds. In 2015, the average cost per person for mental health spending was $680.49. Range of cost of treatment. Depression. Depression is sadness, loss of interest, decrease in function. It is one of the most common mental illnesses. For in-hospital care, it was $6,909 for 8.4 days, and $3,616 for 4.4 days, which equals out to be $832 per night, which a lot of families don't even spend that much per month on groceries. Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia interferes with a person's ability to think clearly, and also is one of the most rarest diseases. The cost was $8,509 for 11.1 nights, and $5,707.4 for 7.4 days, which equals out to be $770 per night. Although that's lower than per night for depression, schizophrenia can need a lifetime of treatment, so it can go into the thousands, maybe in the hundreds of thousands.
So with the information that Macy gave, you could be thinking how this has to do with schools. There's all kinds of drills around for kind of safety, including school intruders. 20% of teens experience depression before they reach adulthood, with another 10 to 15% who experience symptoms. Only 30% of those students are actually being treated. Symptoms of suicidal thoughts could easily lead to, clearly, guns being a safety hazard for students, leading them to want to do something to themselves or other people.
Mental illnesses start at home. At home, the atmosphere you are raised around affects how you act. If you're raised around a happy family, you're most likely going to act happy, or bad, or if you want to rebel. Because we all have anger issues sometimes. And stress is normal. Everyone has stress. And we all say it usually comes from school. But to be honest, it all starts from home. The stuff we learn as a child to as we get older. Social media. Social media shows and illuminates issues that have traumatic effects on us. Social media, like if we have a bad day, we're probably going to post about it. And I think that needs to have a good background check on, because what you post, what you like, what you see, all affects your actions. And with social media, guns, they have a big part of it. They even have whole pages for how guns are cool, make you cool, or how they just do awesome things. Some people with mental illnesses, if they have guns, it can lead to horrible things. And what they post and say online could give ideas or foreshadow what will happen.
So with all of these problems that we've been talking about, how exactly could we fix them? Schools should be able to have more counselors and professionals to talk through during school.
Although that is a great solution, there's also limitations, like the cost of hiring a psychologist. Where in low-income areas where there was high rates of mental health, they could sometimes not even pay their teachers enough. So a lot of times they don't have enough money in the budget to hire a psychologist. And also, the ratio of students to psychologists can sometimes be too much. The recommended ratio for students to psychologists is 250 students to one psychologist. But sadly, it usually ends up being almost double that. So almost 500 students to one psychologist, which means that the psychologist doesn't have enough time to perform the range of services they can do to help the students.
Solution number 2, apps should have stricter laws and regulations to what someone can put online.
As though this would be a great idea if it could go through, but it would cost millions of dollars just for hire enough people to see everything that's posted online every day. There are billions of users, and to see all they post would take hours or weeks before anyone can even notice someone posted something. No one can stop people from speaking their thoughts. We all have the freedom of speech. So if we want to stop people from posting something, there will be some political laws, as Ella would say. And then everyone has it. So there's no way that we can just say, because someone has mental health issues, they can't threaten someone.
And then there's also anxiety.
Okay, a few questions. I'm going to start with you, Ella. So, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your overall understanding of the problem the group identified?
The one that had the greatest impact on mine is Margie's. I realized that there are many different laws that come in place with mental health and purchasing a gun, and I didn't think that apps and laws like that would play in such a big role in my topic as well.
Okay, Macy. What's an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual reports that you decided to exclude from your team presentation, and why?
I would say a compelling argument that we chose to exclude was maybe some of Margie's arguments about social media. Although we did include it, I think we could have used more and could help well.
Can you think of anything that you didn't use, more specific?
I think we included most that people will put to the table. we didn't really exclude any ideas because we wanted to let everyone put their ideas in.
Okay, Margie. Describe an argument from one of your peers' individual reports that made you think differently about your team's solution or conclusion.
Ella's political view showed in her argument about how there should be more laws, but there's not really, and there's a lot of views in that. It shows that my side, that we can't really do much because of the government today.
Okay, and finally, Rachel. Describe how the content of the team presentation was changed as a result of group discussion.
So at first when we were all deciding, we actually had Margie doing a completely different lens that didn't end up working out for us at all when we tried to put it all together. She ended up having to do a completely different thing, but once she did, it was easier for us to make them all come together.